So, welcome to our podcast. Today, we'll be talking about the transition in Israel from Memorial Day to Independence Day. Many people know in America, Memorial Day is in May and Independence Day is in July. Um, so, Ronit, tell me about what does the close proximity of these two very, very intense holidays this year. Memorial Day will start on Tuesday night,
Wednesday.
Tuesday night, Wednesday, and
Hmm.
so Yom Ha'atzmaut itself will be celebrated on Thursday, a time where even the highways are filled with people just making barbecues because there's no place left in the parks. So
Right.
the day that goes from memory to I don't know what. So what's your perspective on this?
I think it's funny that people say, I mean, it's funny in a very sad way that they call it Memorial Day
Mm,
because I think for us, it's not really about the memory, it's about the living because it's not a time of reflection, really. It's a time where we look around and we count the dead.
mm,
So for us, that day, it's so filled with sorrow since it's almost like a count that never stops. And I think they do that almost every year where they actually put the numbers in the newspapers of how many people died in the past year.
mm.
And of course, each number is a person. And let's not forget the idea of numbers with the numbers of the Holocaust. So there's always, I mean, people have to understand that it's the Memorial Day is a week after Holocaust Day.
Mm.
So everything here in Israel is connected. We can't escape the history of who we are. And it's a constant reminder. So we had Holocaust Day on Wednesday,
Mm.
where we realize that even though 2 years, like 2 years ago, the Holocaust for me was just a day of remembrance of what happened a long, long time ago. But the Holocaust Day this year is a reminder that it can happen again.
Mm.
So, and it did happen again, and of course, a smaller scale. But the idea that we are constantly under threat of extermination is just there. So
Mm.
that was a week ago. And now we have Memorial Day, which just makes us stop and think about the people who sacrificed their lives for us. I
Mm.
mean, I think that's that day, right? For people in Israel. And then that shift where you don't even breathe, and then you're supposed to be happy because we're alive. So, I mean, I think that also is very rooted in the Jewish tradition where, you have the sorrow and then you also have the joy.
Yeah,
And it's
and
it's under the umbrella of
usually though
reflection.
they're intermingled. And of course on these 2 days, um, they're just separate. And I mean, to me as an American coming and just feeling that shift was I mean it seems like a lot to deal with emotionally because as you said the sorrow is ongoing, it's a continuous count. And I guess the natural question I want to ask you now is how has this changed after October 7th? How is it this year? This is the second year now. The second year will be standing, as we did on Holocaust Remembrance Day, the 2 minute siren, which were, of course, reminiscent, or was, of course, reminiscent of all the sirens that we've been hearing over the past year and a half. So we'll be hearing the sirens again, which is really an extraordinary moment in Israel. I mean, no matter how skeptical you are, no matter where you are, it just is this moment of connection. But how is it different this year?
I have to say that I have this thing where usually when the sirens go on, I'm at my house and I make it a point to look out of my window. And there is this moment where I'm searching for those people who are not doing who are standing like me. It's almost it's I mean, I could just, stand in my room, but no,
Mm,
I wanna look out and I
mm,
want to see this community of people understanding the moment together.
mm,
So, I mean, that to me is very important.
mm,
And I think, I mean, it's obviously intentional to have those 2 days connected, right? Where, you know, the sorrow, the deep sorrow, and then the really the joy of just being alive and
mm,
and becoming a state and having our moment where we are
mm,
saying, okay, we're alive, we're here, we're thriving. And so those 2 days, they're very symbolic, but at a certain point in the past 2 years, the symbolism just became a reality. And I think that's what happened really is
mm,
where, things that you look at and you think about, but are so far, they're far away from you. But then you realize that's the naivete that happened on October 7th, where you're saying, no, it's not a remembrance day or a memorial day. It's like a reality day. It's like, and I think that's what is different
mm,
this year, where you realize that the threat is there and the happiness is, you should not take that for granted.
mm,
So the idea that my family is here and foot, we're alive and we are making plans for the future, that to me is Independence Day.
mm. Listen,
If
if you should design a prayer book, which of course just
God no.
God forbid. And it makes, I know
Oh,
they have like Independence Day prayer books that some people, I mean, so Independence Day, of course, is also an extremely fraught holiday in Israel because why not? I live in Beit Vegan and in the Haredi neighborhood, which is right next the ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, which is, by the way, right next to Har Herzl. So on the one hand, people look down on it, and somebody a friend of mine used to say that Yom Ha'atzmaut is the gematria of Bittul Zman. The Independence Day is the numeric equivalent of wasting time. I mean, this is how the Haredi world thinks, right? Finding excuses to really avoid the present and to avoid history. But what's odd in my neighborhood is that the fireworks, of course, go off right adjacent to us. So everybody gathers at Har Herzl, all these Haredi kids looking up at the fireworks. And of course, they know something's going on. I mean, and I feel badly for these kids because they are not able to identify in a way with the people of Israel, which would be so uplifting for them and so powerful for them. Um, so it is, yes, an odd holiday, and I think we all. So, what do you make a barbecue, Ronit?
well, it's funny that you said fireworks because in Tel Aviv, and I think it's also in Jerusalem now, but I'm not
Mm.
sure. But in Tel Aviv, there are no fireworks. It's like we can't celebrate
Oh, there weren't
fully
last year
since
either.
the hostages are not here. So
Of course.
it's almost like, and they usually have, well-known singers sing
Uh-huh.
in like, public spaces, like, and it's a form of celebration. Everybody is out and all the children are just having fun. They're usually, no cars because they close off streets and stuff. But, this year as well as last year, it was just, for a better word, it was lame. It was a lame kind of day.
Does
There were
that
no celebrations, there were no singers because how can you really rejoice,
hmm.
and no fireworks because
Renita, it's
the
strange.
soldiers who came back from Gaza, they have trouble, it's hard for them to hear, so it's not really, it's very contained. It's almost like you're saying, be joyous, but contain that because you can't really, because there are hostages out there. So it's a different kind of mindset here. And it's hovering over all of us.
Hmm.
It's not just, me, feeling that way. It's like every time you see somebody and you discuss it, you know that person knows what you're feeling.
Hmm.
And as for the day after, oh, there's going to be barbecues everywhere. Like it's a given. And because it's almost like an outlet. Here's a day where we can just be outside and not worry. I mean, I hope this Independence Day also we're not, because we're still afraid of the missiles. So it's
Hmm.
not really. I'm still like, should I send my kids out? Should I not send my kids out?
It
It's a perfect
sounds
day for the terrorists, right? It's such a symbolic day for everyone to just attack us. So I'm like, should I, shouldn't I? But yeah, so it's not a very fun day, I think.
it sounds like a different kind of joy. I mean, in a way, or a more relatable kind of joy. I mean, when I first came here into Bayit Vagan, there's also this very Zionistic yeshiva, and that was their day in Bayit Vagan, that they would dance in the celebratory manner throughout the streets.
Really?
Yeah, oh, the whole thing, right? And it was kind of a manifestation of extreme nationalism, which made me very uncomfortable. But I think what you're saying is that there's a different kind of nationalism. I used to talk about Zionism with a small z, by which I just meant not the Zionism of one-dimensional nationalists. And I think what you're saying, it's a different kind of joy. It's like a father dancing with a child on his shoulders. When he dances with joy, but he's also aware there's that child that he has to take care of. And for us, it's not so much the child, but it's the burden that we feel, the sadness, what you started out saying, the sorrow.
Yeah, I mean, those are two, again, I think it's very intentional that they're one after another.
Mhm.
And it's just it's us not shying away from what it means to have an Independence Day. That's the price that you had to pay for that. Just remember that. It's not, it's a gift, but that gift, came from, you know, just wars and just constant sorrow. So I think it's you usually, like, I think like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you could, I mean, everybody always said that it's very hard to go from this to that, but you could do that. There was joy on the streets. I think the past 2 years it's less. It's just the balance is not, it's not a day of sorrow, a day of joy. It's almost like the balance is kind of shifted between them. It's like, we took some of the joy, but we still contain the sorrow. And then the sorrow is just kind of overwhelming. So that's how I think that's how we see it right now. This is the state we're in,
That's
literally.
beautiful. So I hope you have a nice barbecue on Yom
Yes.
Ha'atzmaut.
Chag Ha'atzmaut Sameach.
Thank you, Ronit Eitan.
Sure.